here today to talk to you about programs and packages that you periodically get paid for. Now, the thing is, we all know about feast and famine. We all know about, here comes this amazing flow of clients. How wonderful is life? Oh my goodness, here's the flow of business I've been looking for. And then there's the moment where you go, oh my goodness, it's Sunday and I'm looking at my schedule for the next week and there is nobody there. Dun, dun, dun. What have I done? It's me, it's this, it's all the other things. And so to avoid the feast and famine, one of the techniques, there are multiple ways, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, but I get asked all the time about programs and packages and how to create them. So I thought we'd have a conversation about it. Hey, Shruti, nice to see you. And Julie, hey, it's nice to see you here too. Gorgeous. All right. So programs and packages. Now, the thing about programs and packages, the one thing that I am quite adamant around is to make a really good program or package, generally you have to know the journey or the result at the end of the journey that you're taking somebody on. Because to be able to really give it for a customer to be able to understand the value that they're getting, and that's all it is. You know, we think, oh yes, I'm going to create a program or package because it's going to be a lot more money that I'm able to get, but you're actually creating a value proposition, a piece of value for somebody, and they're going to give you the amount of value back that they believe it's worth. And although we have it in our heads to go, okay, an initial consultation plus a follow-up plus a follow-up plus a follow-up, and then a flower essence and a something else and a something else, and we would, if we were just to do that and add up the cost of all of those things, that would be one way of doing it. But how you're really going to make the money in the end and how you're really going to provide value for a client in the end is actually know where you're taking them to, or what journey you can take them on to best support them in that journey, and that's what they'll pay for. So this is the little difference between just creating a package of, 10 consults versus what are you actually going to be doing for them over the time that you're going to be serving them. So, hey Lynette, nice to see you. Ask me any questions you like and I'll answer them as well if you've got questions about packages. And we had a question from Chris this morning, Christine, and she was asking, okay, so people are asking me if I have a wellness package, what would that look like? So it can be as simple as wellness is the answer. How do you best serve your clients to get them to wellness? Now, this is a very different conversation for each different practitioner. And for each different practitioner, it's going to take you a different length of time. It's going to take you different products possibly, and different information and conversations you're having along the way with that particular client to get them to a state of wellness where they would report wellness for themselves. So for some people, they might consider having twice the amount of energy as being well. Or maybe they're going to sleep better as being well. And how are we going to get from where they are now to where they're at isn't necessarily just, here's an initial consultation, here's a follow-up consultation, here's another follow-up consultation, and by the end of this many consultations, you'll be well. It isn't really like that. Now, I often use the example of my adrenal fatigue clients. So I used to have a package very specifically for adrenally fatigued mums and those that were running businesses. And how it would work would be they would come in for an initial consultation, and at that consultation, I would always end up doing some form of testing, be it food intolerance testing or be it salivary cortisol testing to really hone in on it. And then, of course, you've got to wait the 4 weeks for those results to come back. So somewhere in between here, I happen to know what it was like for somebody who was adrenally fatigued because I'd helped thousands of women like this, and I happen to be one of them myself. I knew that at about the 3 week mark, when I was telling them not to go to CrossFit anymore, not to do all these things, being able to practice saying no and all that kind of stuff. At the 3-week mark, they would all of a sudden decide that they wanted to go back to CrossFit or climb a mountain or, go into the next Iron Woman event or whatever it happened to be. That really competitive nature would kick back in again because they'd have a bit more energy. So I knew I needed to give them a follow-up consultation there before they went in and went crazy. And so we did that, and then we would get the test results back. So we had another consultation about 2 to 3 weeks later. So it's 2 follow-ups. And then at around about the 8-week mark, they were then able to bring back in a whole bunch of things food-wise that they hadn't been doing for the 8 weeks prior. So then we'd have another follow-up consultation, but it'd be all about food and all that kind of stuff. And then that last month, that last 4-week kind of cycle, I knew after 12 weeks that I could, for most of the people that I took through this kind of program, they would have double the amount of energy. And so I knew the result I was waiting for was double the amount of energy, a change in their cortisol, and we would retest that for towards the end. And we'd also talk about the amount of stress based on questionnaires and things like that. So we actually had data to give them at the end of it. Now, this is the thing about a program or a package, is it's not just the initial consultation plus the 4 follow-ups that I was giving them, which you could essentially put out as an initial consultation. On average, most practitioners are around about this $100, $150 mark, and then every follow-up is, say, the $75 mark. And so if we've got that, then we've got $150, then we've got 2 lots, another $150, 2 lots. So we've got $600 worth of consultations, right? So I could just sell $600 worth of consultations, but what makes that different, and this is where we get a little bit confused when we are creating packages for the first time, what makes that different to the person just coming in and paying their $150 as they go along? What makes it different is you also know somewhere in that journey you're going to be telling them a certain story, you're going to be feeding them a piece of information that's poignant for that part of their journey. So initially, if you are somebody in the first consultation that talks about food predominantly, then you might want to send out an autoresponder or an email that comes out specifically around foods that are on the yes list, foods that are in the amber list, and foods that are on the red no list. Then we've got, you might then be talking about exercise or movement, and then a couple of weeks later you might be talking about test results and what it actually means to read your cortisol results and what that looks like. And a few weeks later, you might be talking about herbs that can support it. Now, the reason that a program or a package can work like this is because there is only so much information that you can convey in a 1-hour session or a half-hour follow-up session. But they might want a little bit more in depth. They might want recipes to go with it. You might find that there's a group of people who really want podcasts or, other information. And by you giving them value like that, you are then able to plop in this information without you having to be there. You can be seeing a whole bunch of other clients, and you can plop in this information all the way along their journey to get to their end point. Now, I'm going to go into business speak. So if you're here, all you're hearing is business, 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 numbers, numbers, numbers. What I'm asking you to do is open up your ears a little bit and lean in. But the thing here is you want to find things that are going to give the perception of high value, but are actually low cost to you. I know cost, value, high, low, I used to do the same thing, but I'm asking you to lean in. So what I'm saying is you can provide, so a high cost thing for you is to actually show up in your clinic. I remember it used to cost us $120 per hour to open the doors of our clinic. And go and see my money mindset module in tammyguests.com/resources, and you'll see how to figure that out for yourself, how much it's actually costing you to open your doors. But it costs a lot of money to sit in front of somebody. It costs you money to do that. Whereas if you create an online thing or an autoresponder, an email that goes out to them, that's actually, need to see. that's actually going to be a low cost thing in the end, because it can actually go out to everybody and you don't have to physically be there. So it's actually going to cost you next to nothing to send an email. Now, a medium cost might be something like a flower essence, right? It costs you $2 something for the bottle. And then because it's a flower essence, you have the opportunity to be able to give that at a medium cost. Something that's high cost, that's a hard cost, is a wholesale price of your supplements, right? So, if you were to give a supplement, then or a nutraceutical or whatever it happens to be, that could cost you $40, right? So you're giving this value that's going to give you a hard cost of $40. So if you're going to give value, you want to find all the things that are low cost for you but give high value. Now, high value to somebody might be they get more information from you. You might create a video for them. You might create an audio for them. You might create a little meditation or something along the package way, but it doesn't cost you much to do that, right? It doesn't cost you $40 every time like it would if you were going to give them supplements. So you want to find the thing that your person or people that you really want to help through giving them a package, how they want to learn. They might want to learn from seeing you on video. They might want to learn from a support group, so you could give them a group to join as well. Or they might want to learn because they want to listen to you. Especially mums are really good at that. They really want to just pop their headphones in as they're walking kids along or doing their housework or that kind of thing. So they might want to hear you telling them this information, or they might want to get it via email or a PDF download or a checklist or that kind of stuff. So if you're going to create a package, and just the costs of them coming in is going to cost you $600, like I was saying. So say it's $600 for their consult fees, and then you're going to give them, say, $200 worth of testing is what we used to do. So if the test costs more, then we would add that on, because it's a hard cost. You can't get it out of paying the pathology bill. So $200 worth of testing was actually as part of the package. So there's $800 worth of hard value, but then we were looking to have a $1,000 package so that we could get people consistently paying and looking after their health, and they were so invested in the outcome that they were then able to go, yeah, I'm actually going to do this because I'm putting the money in to do it, so I'm going to show up for it, rather than it's free and I won't do it, and I'll even skip the consult and I'll miss it, or I'll ring up late, or whatever it happens to be. So there's all of the low cost, high value items that you could then just list to get you $200. So you got your $600 worth of visiting, you've got your $200 worth of testing, and then of course you could do the $200 worth of supplements. But how can you educate them along the way without you actually physically being there? So you can utilize technology. Other people put little packages together. Some of the mentees from the club have put little starter packs together at the beginning and at the end, and I love them. Putting together Epsom salts, so mixing up like an actual gift. It's like you've given this gift to yourself of health and well-being for this wellness package. Here is the gift to, kick you off. And so they've put a tea, something again, low cost, high value, a tea, some Epsom salts with some amazing herbs or some essential oils in them, and a flower essence specifically made for them, and a little inspirational quote, other bits and pieces. So they've got a physical thing that when they actually signed up for it, they were then given this amazing thing. So, and you can do those little things along the way as well. They just take up a little bit of time to actually send, and you've got to factor in all these other little costs in the meantime. So when you're thinking about a package, think about those types of things. What are the actual hard costs that it takes you to actually physically see these people? What are the low cost, high value things that you can create that have a perceived amount of value but don't cost you lots of money to actually put them in? And then how are you going to be able to tell everybody about all of those amazing things so that they are then going, yes, yes, yes? And is it in alignment with the type of person that you want to help? So like Chanel was just saying, audio is heaps easier for mums, especially because Chanel's a new mum. And having that information given to you that way, you're then able to go, yes, that's actually really valuable to me because I will listen to it, rather than, you mean I have to print off a whole workbook and I need to, tick a checklist and I don't have a printer, all of those things that stand in the way of someone buying from you. You want to clear those and make it really easy for them. So other questions in here. Hey, Em, nice to see you. Hey, Alicia. Rachel, awesome. I'm glad this is useful to you. Moira, great to remember non-material things add value as well. That's right. The immaterial, them just being part of your tribe, them being part of your clinic, your community, absolutely brings a level of immaterial value as well. What was the other question? Oh, yes, Rachel. Do you do payment options for the packages? Now, great question. And that's usually the second question is, how do people pay for this stuff? So when I first started out in practice in somebody else's clinic, I had the hardest time going, okay, so today's $453. Like, ugh. I had such a hard time, and I was actually working in somebody else's clinic who'd been doing that for such a long time. It just was second nature for her to just go, yes, this is the amount of value I give. Yes, this is how I'm running my business, and blah, blah, blah. But I had such a hard time doing it. And so this is literally why I put packages in, because I didn't want to have to ask for that huge amount of money at the end. I went, okay, if I'm going to give them $1,000 worth, then every time they come, they then have to pay $200. So all the way along, they get 200, 200, 200. Or I put them on something that is now available, Easy Debit or Stripe or subscriptions on PayPal. There are ways that you can actually get them to put the information in, and then you don't have to worry about making sure that all the payments go through, because there's a third party that's looking after that. And they sign up for it, and then it comes out either weekly or fortnightly or monthly or however you want to set that up. And then in your clinic management software, so something like Clinico, Simple Clinic, I'm not sure that HealthKit can do it, but Acuity can as well, is you start to track how many of those visits they're down, and then you are able to tell whether or not their package has been used up. As for invoicing, they invoiced for whatever they came and saw you for, so that their health fund, they cannot currently, under this current situation with health funds, they can't currently just swipe the high caps machine. You have to give them an invoice, and then they have to take that to, on the day in which you saw them, dated for that, then they have to take that to the health fund. So that's the way that you end up paying for it. Now, the other little question that you had, Rachel, was do you do payment options for the packages? Yes, you do. There could be a bonus because they pay their $1,000 up front, because there are a lot of people who are so, they've gotten to a point so bad in their, they feel so bad in their health and their well-being that they will do whatever it takes. Just the same as when your car gets so bad that you have to take it to the mechanic, you just hand over your credit card. If it's $1,000, it's $1,000. You just hand it over and get that thing done so you can keep driving, right? Okay, so some of us do, but all I'm saying is, there is a point where somebody will just go, yeah, here, have my credit card, take it all. Take what it needs to get me the result that I want to get. So there is that, you always give that one option, because it's amazing cash injection for your business if somebody is willing to do what it takes and they want to do that right now. So you give them that one option, and then after you've given them the option, after you have said it's $1,000, you then make sure that you give them, especially, that vibe, not your vibe, their vibe, that vibe when they kind of go, then you go, okay, but otherwise it's 5 easy payments of $200, and we take them out fortnightly. So you always have a different option, and you could do 2 payments of $500. I don't know. It's wherever your money mindset is at and what works for your ideal client. Now, this is why I talk about ideal client a lot, because if you know that the vast majority of the people, not your stuff, the vast majority of the people that come to you, their stuff, if you were to stand in their shoes and not your own money mindset issues, this is where it gets all a little bit murky because we all have our own stuff going on. But if you stand in their shoes, how much can they stretch themselves to? How much can they afford? And how frequently? You might be in a mining town and everyone gets paid monthly. So you're better off giving them a monthly payment. You might be working with, teachers and they get paid fortnightly. You might be working with an affluent area and they would rather pay it all up front. You might be working with, there's a whole bunch of different ways of doing it, but you have to know your particular client that well that you can have those two options. So hopefully that was useful, Rachel. Cool. Chanel says less work for people is always good. Yeah, if you can automate the system, because otherwise you're sitting there on emails or, swiping cards and juggling a whole bunch of stuff. And that's the cool thing about technology now and payment gateways like Easy Debit, Stripe and all those is you can do it. And and they do it. They put their details in. You don't even have to do anything about that. And the thing about automated autoresponders. Now, autoresponders are an email that automatically goes out and you don't have to do anything about it. Essentially, all you do is in MailChimp, if you're using MailChimp, it seems to be the predominant one that most people use, is that when somebody signs on for your program, you go and pop them into your program's list. It's a list of people who are going to get certain emails. And that list, when somebody goes into that list, it triggers off a series of emails, say 12 emails. Yes, it takes a little bit to set it up. That one time you have to set it up. But then for the next 100 clients that you have doing it, you don't have to do anything. So you get these 12 emails that are automatically going out to them every week until the program's finished. Got that? Cool. Cassandra, how many consults do other pracs find useful to have bundled up together in packages? Great question. So if anyone wants to answer that, go for it. My suggestion is it depends on which type of client you have. So the type of client that you have is going to shift how many they're going to use. So if you get the actual data, so this is the cool thing, some of you guys have a background in finance and love doing things on spreadsheets and stuff like that, and I never really got into that, but my hubby totally did. And so he would take all of the data from all of the clients that I did have, say my 100 favorite clients, and then saw how many visits they had over the past 6 months. And then when we had the actual real data on how many visits my favorite clients came for during a 6-month period, we were then able to offer that because we happen to know that that's the actual data on the types of people that would visit. And what they actually wanted was a 4-visit pass that had to be used up between now and Christmas. And it was X amount of money, and you got all of these little bonuses to go with it. So hopefully that was useful as well. Cass? Awesome. Julie, on the invoice for the health funds, is there an agreed amount for the consult versus products? What did you do? Yeah, so if a package is $1,000 and you have your consults, then what you're doing, depending on what your package is made up of, your consult is going to be your regular consult fee. It is always going to be that on your invoice to go to the health fund, because that's how much value and how much consults they actually had. They arrived for that. They saw you for that half hour. It cost X amount. And then the rest of the value went up depending on what they were actually getting in that time. So if they did get supplements in that time, for us it would go up on top of that. And then we'd also add educational materials, a value for educational materials, a value for remedies depending on what they were, a value for testing. So it really depends on what's in your consult as to what you're going to actually put on there. But you definitely have to have the actual consult that they sat in with you for that day and the value that you always put on that, the cost of that. Yeah. Chanel, I tracked my admin. Okay. Rachel, thank you. Just wanted to look at options that we don't miss getting paid as well. So if someone gives up halfway, for example, cool, yes. So this is the thing about using someone like Easy Debit, is they have a debt recovery kind of area in Easy Debit. So the third party, they actually go and find that for you. So they'll track that information, they'll track those payments for you. Whereas something like Stripe, they give them 3 goes to do that, but then you've kind of got to take it over. And then that's the other really important thing, and I bang on about it all the time, and you guys can't stand it, and I never could either, but we live in a world where legals are really important and agreements are really important. And so when you are running a package, you need a terms and conditions. Again, if you're going, la, 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 business, 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 numbers, 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 quick, turn her off, we're going to be okay. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Now, terms and conditions is just a fancy word for a handshake, an agreement. And that piece of documentation, like this piece of paper, is a letter, a handshake, an official handshake between you and the person that's coming into the package, that you agree that you will provide this amount of consults and you will give this amount of notice if they have to be rearranged, and that you'll give this amount of educational value. And on the flip side, they'll agree to turn up to the consults and they'll agree to pay you within the amount of time allotted, and they'll pay you the whole thing even if they don't come. So that's the bit where you've got to make sure you sign it and they sign it, and then it's an agreement. Now, this is to protect them as much as it is to protect you, right? So as much as you're sitting here going, yeah, I want my $1,000, it's also so that they know if you are sick on the day and you cancel one of their appointments, that they do get that appointment. It makes them feel safe and secure, makes everybody feel safe and secure. And it's just a piece of paper that, essentially is officializing a handshake on what you guys are going to do. Cool. Don't want to freak you all out, but it's just really useful. And another little statistic for you, Rachel, is 3%. Now, not a lot of people talk about this, and we need to have more conversations like it. 3%, that's how many people aren't going to pay. 3% will fail to pay. That's it. So at some stage, when you get to your 100, 3 of them aren't going to pay you. That's how it works. And you can either rebel against that and find all the ways and legally go after them and do all that stuff, or you can go, well, that's the general gist, that 3% aren't going to pay. And or 3% will ask for a refund, or 3%, it's around about 3%. So when I'm okay with that, and it just everything is hunky-dory. But if you go in going, yes, everyone needs to pay, and then you spend all this time trying to chase a payment when there's another 10 people there that are really willing and able and want to go on this health journey with you, then it can get a bit funny. Anyway, I thought I'd better say that, because some people go like, no, I've had these 3 people who aren't paying. Oh, well, there'll be another 97 that will, so it's okay. All right, Emily, can you automate from Clinico my questionnaire for my initial patients? I have a few. So I've got a special initial patient one for pregnancy, fertility, adult, child, depending on how they book in. I would love for that to be the case, and that's one of the main reasons that I often talk to people about Simple Clinic, is because the automations when it comes to initial client questionnaires in Clinico, they don't match up. You can't. It's like you can send a document that they fill out, but it doesn't automatically go and fill in the details in the file, the Clinico file, the patient file, and those details aren't automatically added to your welcome list either. So whereas Simple Clinic, you fill out the questionnaire, it gets auto-populated into the file, and that auto-populates into your integration with MailChimp. So And prove me wrong if that's the case as well. If you are a clinico person, and because these are all the new changes, there's always new changes depending on which programs are out and what developments they're doing. So if that's not the case, let me know. Otherwise, that's why I use the other one then. Chelsea, yes, the business, numbers. Cassandra, I love the 4-visit pass idea. I'm finding the past month or so, my area is struggling financially. Yeah, a number rescheduled due to finances, and clients are very tight with budgets or supplements. So I need to draft up another option for these people who want to keep coming, but cash flow is stopping them. Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Another business word is cash flow. And essentially all it is moving the flow of cash and money through your business. And that means instead of having to pour out like $1,000 all in one hit, the flow can happen that you give 200 and then 200 and 200 and 200, or even 100, and it flows easier rather than the big tsunami hit and then they're scrambling after. So not only does the cash flow idea work through your business for you so that you are consistently getting money and not having the feast and famine scenario, but it works for your clients as well, because it's much easier to pay in small chunks than it is to come out with one big chunk. So great distinction there, Cassandra. Thanks for mentioning that. Emily, I'll check it out and look into Simple Clinic. Sweet. Of course, there is always workarounds, but I'm always looking for where is there more ease and where is there more flow. And for me, I've found that that's the case. And there is always workarounds. So there might be other little things like Zapier or Zaps. Zapier connects certain third parties with other third parties through a thing called a Zap. And they are usually the workarounds to be able to get, say, a piece of information from, say, Clinico, where the email is, or the details are, straight across into, say, your integration with MailChimp or something else. Or you might find the information with your Adobe sign or whatever it happens to be you're using for your intake form, might be able to be zapped over into Clinico. So, yeah, another sideline little piece of gold. All right. So please do as we always ask you to do, is do something. Take an action today around creating a program or a package that you will get periodically paid for. What is it today that went, ooh, in this conversation that you can go and check out? So Emily's going to go and check out Simple Clinic. Cassandra's going to start her 4-visit pass idea and enable people to pay in a nice, easy way. What is it for you that you're going to take action on today that's actually going to get you a little bit more traction in your business and provide much more value for your clients and provide ease for you?